Hello, Room 308, and welcome back to Persuasive and Opinion Writing. Today is day 11 of our unit here. We're going to be looking at our Insects Are Amazing piece. So if you want to pull that up on your screen or have it printed out next to you, you can go ahead and get that ready now. Today we're going to be continuing to work on our drafts. So as of Friday, you should have your little introduction, just about 2 sentences, and then 3 body paragraphs now. So if you don't have 3 body paragraphs, I would suggest that you pause here, work on those paragraphs, and then come back to this video. Because today we're going to be working on transitional words and phrases. So transitional words and phrases are words that help readers understand how an opinion and the reasons that support your opinion are linked together or connected. So they help your reader follow along in a clear way. So I am going to be reading Insects Are Amazing today, and we are going to just be reading the 2nd and 3rd paragraphs here, and we're going to be focusing on what transitional words and phrases we find. Usually, you've used transitional words and phrases at the beginning of a paragraph. In persuasive and opinion writing, you're going to find those phrases throughout the paragraphs because they're linking ideas together. So as you're reading along, I want you to underline or highlight or just take a mental note of where you think you've heard a transitional phrase, and maybe it might even be one that you want to add to your writing because hint, hint, we're going to be doing that today. Okay. Insects are amazing. Insects are very important because they help plants and animals. For example, ladybugs eat aphids. Aphids eat the flowers in your garden. If you want a healthy garden, leave those ladybugs alone. Also, when an animal or a plant dies, insects eat it to help break it down. If you don't want a lot of smelly dead animals around, let those insects do their work. Also, many animals eat insects. I bet you think birds are beautiful. If there were no bugs, many birds would die because they need insects to eat. Insects are also cool to watch and learn about. They do all sorts of cool things. For instance, ants can carry 10 times their weight. In addition, ants and many other kinds of insects like bees can communicate without talking. They can tell each other where food is or where danger is by the way they move by leaving scents. Have you ever watched all the moths that fly to a light at night? Why do they do that? How come they don't run into each other? These are the kinds of questions that entomologists, people who study insects, ask and get to figure out. That to me sounds like a pretty cool job. Lastly, I don't see why insects are such a big deal since they don't usually bother people. Most insects live under rocks or in places that people don't always go. Most just want to be left alone. It seems to me that we should just leave them alone and let them do their work. When we do see them, we should just study them and learn more about them. Alrighty, so I want you to think about what transitional words and phrases you heard in that story. And instead of just saying, oh, I heard it and I noticed it when I went, I want you to pause and then actually really go back and reread it and find those. So go ahead and pause now. And welcome back. So now I want you to think about what transitional words and phrases might make sense for your persuasive and opinion writing. Not all of these they're not one size fits all. They're not all going to work in your piece. And if it sounds funky when you read it out loud, if it doesn't sound like your voice, maybe consider switching to a different one that sounds a little more natural to you, okay? Especially if you don't know what that word or phrase means. You can obviously look it up, but if you don't know what it means, it's probably not super helpful to put it in your writing. Kind of like when we talked about using a thesaurus. If you just grab a word from the thesaurus and insert it into your paper because you think it's going to sound better, but you don't know what it means, it might not work out. It's not going to sound natural. Okay, so I normally would sit with you and have us come up with all these interesting ideas of words and phrases that we could use in our writing, and we would even practice writing our own sentences. So what I would like you to do for now, since that's not really possible to have an authentic conversation, I've decided to list some options in the PDF that was sent to your parents this week with your weekly plans. So usually it just feels weird not coming up with the ideas with you. It feels like I'm kind of just giving you answers here, but I'm not sure how else to go about this. My piece of advice for now is going to be to try to stay away from transitional words that are just one single word. You can use a couple of those, but I noticed in Insects Are Amazing, I noticed that the author used the word also, right? I think that we in our class can make our writing stronger by using phrases that are 2 to 3 words. The ones that stuck out to me, and if you are using one words, try to spice it up a little bit. Like instead of also, use the word clearly, or however, or nevertheless, right? Try to spice it up and make it sound a little better. But the ones that stuck out for me are for instance, for example, and in addition. Those ones I thought were really strong and really demonstrated that the author knew what they were talking about. They didn't just say that insects are amazing because they're helpful. They said insects are amazing because they're helpful. For example, birds eat insects, right? That made it really clear on why the insects were so important for the ecosystem. Okay? Now, I would like you to add, let's have you add, assuming you don't have any in your writing right now, let's have you make sure you have at least 4 or 5 transitional phrases. Remember, they can be at the beginning of a paragraph, like in paragraph 3 it says lastly, or they can be in the middle where it says for example or for instance. After you add transitional words or phrases, we're going to come back tomorrow to add some more persuasive words and other things. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Happy writing.